I deserve a good meal, I think.
Say it again. Exactly. It's a meat. No, absolutely not. No. No.
Okay, guys, let's get rolling here. So our first order of business, if you look at voting list number 27, these are on a consent calendar. All these bills are bills that passed in identical posture, House and Senate, crossfire, all that kind of stuff. So there's really not much to debate other than we can vote all these bills as a consent calendar unless somebody wants to. They were all these bills were voted unanimously by the committee, and I think even for the full General Assembly, and so in the same posture. So we have a motion and a second. Again, we're on consent calendar number 27. Any discussion? Nobody wants to separate anything out. All in favor of the consent calendar, identical unanimous bills, raise your hand. All opposed? All these bills are now passed. Similarly, although voting list number 28 are not weren't exact identical, there was a couple, these three bills on voting list number 28 we had three very minor differences. Why don't you describe? Yeah, okay.
Voting list number 28, these are all identical. However, they were not unanimous in the committee. So I wanted to give people a chance to vote.
Yeah, correct. Okay, I stand corrected. So yes, these were not unanimously voted, but we did take votes on these and pass them. So do you want to refresh everybody's memory? Let's start with 683 and then we'll just do a roll. We'll go around the horn on these three bills.
So House Bill 683 authorizes the Department of Natural Resources to issue an apprentice hunting license to a person younger than age 17 who has previously been issued an apprentice hunting license. On the cross file, it was unanimous on the floor, but in committee, we have M. Washington and Watson and Lewis Young voting against.
Does everybody remember this bill 683 and how you voted? And some folks voted one way here in committee, and, changed their vote on the floor, but we're back on committee on this one. So any questions for April about this particular piece of legislation 683? Okay, is there a motion? Favorable in a second. Okay, these we don't need, and these are just straight up. Okay, let's do roll calls on these since they weren't unanimous first time around. We're on House Bill 683.
All right, Senator Kagan.
Aye.
Senator Kagan, yes. Senator Augustine.
Yes.
Senator Augustine, yes. Senator Gallion.
Yes.
Senator Gallion, yes. Senator Watson.
No.
Senator Watson, no. Senator Lewis Young.
No.
Senator Lewis Young, no. Senator Brooks.
Yes.
Senator Brooks, yes. Senator Carozza.
Yes.
Senator Carozza, yes. Senator Hester.
Yes.
Senator Hester, yes. Senator Washington.
No.
Senator Washington, no. Senator Simonaire.
Yeah.
Senator Simonaire, yes. And Senator Feldman,
Yes. What was our
Yes.
number? So,
8-3.
okay, that passes 8-3. Let's go down to 983.
Okay. House Bill 983, hunting, wildlife conservation and outdoor recreation, funding, promotion, management, licenses, permits, and stamps. This is identical to the cross file Senate Bill 327, and it's as it passed the committee. The bill establishes the wildlife conservation, education, and outreach program within the Department of Natural Resources and also increases fees for several hunting licenses, stamps, and permits. If you recall, both the House bill in its current posture and the Senate bill as it passed the Senate does not affect current laws regarding Sunday hunting in any way.
Okay.
So the vote in committee, was 10-1 with Senator Lewis Young voting against the Senate bill, but it
Okay.
was unanimous on the floor.
Okay, unanimous on the floor, 10-1 in this committee. Is there a motion? Okay, motion from Senator Gallion. Is there a second from Senator Augustine? Let's do a roll call since it was unanimous. So we're talking 983, House Bill 983.
All right, Senator Kagan.
Aye.
Senator Kagan, yes. Senator Augustine.
Yes.
Senator Augustine, yes. Senator Gallion.
Yeah.
Senator Gallion, yes. Senator Watson.
Yes.
Senator Watson, yes. Senator Lewis Young. Senator Lewis Young, yes. Senator Brooks. Senator Brooks, yes. Senator Carozza. Senator Carozza, yes. Senator Hester. Senator Hester, yes. Senator Washington. Senator Washington, yes. Senator Simon. Senator Simon, yes. And Senator Feldman.
Yes.
Senator Feldman, yes.
Okay, so that bill carried. Last bill on this list, House Bill 1084.
House Bill 1084, Natural Resources, Oyster Inspection and Severance Taxes Increase. This bill is identical to Senate Bill 634 as it passed the Senate. This bill increases the severance tax from $1 per bushel to $2 per bushel that is levied on every bushel of oysters caught in the state. Bill also increases the inspection tax from 30 cents per bushel to $1 per bushel that is levied on marketable oysters shipped in the shell to any place outside the state. The bill requires that one of every $2 of the severance tax be used by county oyster committees for the repletion of natural oyster bars located within the waters of those counties. This bill passed the committee 10-1 with Senator Simon voting against. It was not unanimous on the floor either. 3 voted against it on the floor.
Okay. Yes, Senator Carozza.
Just to clarify from the testimony, the Maryland Watermen's Association is favorable.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion? Favorable? How about somebody else? Senator Augustine, Senator Watson, second. Let's do a roll call.
All right, Senator Kagan.
Aye.
Senator Kagan, yes. Senator Augustine. Senator Augustine, yes. Senator Gallion. Senator Gallion, yes. Senator Watson. Senator Watson, yes. Senator Lewis Young. Senator Lewis Young, yes. Senator Brooks. Senator Brooks, yes. Senator Carozza. Senator Carozza, yes. Senator Hester. Senator Hester, yes. Senator Washington. Senator Washington, yes. Senator Simon. Senator Simon, no. Senator Feldman.
Yes, bill carries 10-1. We're going to now move to voting list number 29. Why don't we start with a couple bills we've had discussions about. Let's start with Senate Bill 477 and Senate Bill 830. Or are you going to use 830 as the vehicle? So this is the electric vehicle bill that we had some discussion about, and I asked for a day to attempt to come up with what I believe could be a compromise of sorts. So why don't you, or do you want me to just, okay, bottom line, if you recall, there were sort of 3 parts of the bill. It had to deal with new construction. We're on Senate Bill 477 and House Bill 830, the electric vehicle charging infrastructure bill, for lack of a better term. I'm list 29, voting list 29. I'm just jumping down to, if you see, the House and Senate bills are both on that list. And the way the bill came in, it had requirements for electric vehicle infrastructure charging for new construction of single-family dwelling home, single-family detached homes, townhouses, duplexes, et cetera, that have garages, carports, or driveways. Also, requirements involving substantial renovations, and then finally, provisions dealing with multifamily dwelling units. When we were here last, I mentioned that the multifamily dwelling unit part of the bill was based on what the House amendments were coming back. We were not in the same lane. It had to do with EV capable. I think we should be moving to EV ready. You can actually have the ability to plug your charger in and actually do something EV capable is something, in my view, much less. But we punted the ball and we sent it to a study at the MEA to come back with some recommendations on how to deal with multifamily. As a result of some further discussions with the House and with with NAOP and with the builders. So what I'm proposing here, and I believe, I don't want to speak for, I see Mr. Ballantyne and Mr. Enton here. I believe this may be what is necessary to at least get the builders and NAOP into hopefully a neutral position on the bill. So on these, we're going to, just for purposes of the bill, focus entirely on just new construction. That's how Howard County does it already. That's how some other states. I consider that to be an important step forward, leaving us with some room to maneuver and add when we get back in 2024, dealing with multifamily units and the rest. But this is, I think, would be a significant move forward if new construction will involve EV-ready charging apparatus on new construction. I think that's a significant point forward, and I think that is where we are, and I think that may carry the day with the opponents and with the House. So I'm going to propose in April, you want to walk people. So basically, the only difference between now and last time we met is we're going to strike the substantial renovation part of the bill. The rest is focused entirely on new construction. And again, with that, I think it's a move forward 2 weeks after Governor Moore announced that we're moving to the California emission standards. So I think the timing of this is important, but it does give us room for more discussion in the future next session. So with that, you want to add something to the mix here?
Note that there is a revised copy of the amendments and the reprint in your bill packet. Revised reprint starts on page 11. So as amended with the proposed amendments, this would just simply provide that for the new construction of housing units that include a garage, carport, or driveway for each residential unit, those units would have to include one EVSE installed parking space or one EV ready parking space. So that's sort of the bulk of the bill, but then it would also add require MEA to study issues and costs related to requiring multifamily residential buildings to include EVSE installed and EV ready parking spaces as specified.
Okay, questions? Again, Bill's pared back, but I still think significant, Bill. And Mr. Ballantyne, Mr. Ed, if you want to add anything, I don't want to speak, hand here. Any comments just for the benefit of the committee?
The microphone.
Here, nobody can hear you. Okay, well, he's not going to testify other than to say.
So on behalf of the Maryland Builders, just want to say thank you to the chairman and members of the committee. This is an important step forward, and we'll still have more time to look at it during the interim and come back next year, I'm sure, with other legislation. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Ballantyne, anything you want to add before we take up the amendments?
No, just briefly, Tom Ballantyne with NIOP Maryland. Obviously, we thought it appropriate to do an above code advancement of some kind. This is a different form of that, but we certainly respect your opinion to take a closer look at it, and we look forward to participating in that process. So thank you.
Okay, any just discussion questions for April or myself on where we are? Again, it's a scale back, but I think an important step forward. With that, is there a motion? Okay, we got a motion on the amendment second. Any discussion on the amendments? Okay, all in favor of these scaled back amendments, would you raise your hand? All opposed, the amendment carries. We're going to vote 8:30, but we'll just we'll vote on 8:30, but the amendments will conform the two bills. They'll be identical. So this vote will count for a vote on both bills.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of the bill as amended? Okay, and again, this vote will count towards 477 as well, and the bills will be conformed. Next up, we left yesterday. Let's just go right to it on the community solar topic. I mean, there was a lot of discussion yesterday. We had a lot of questions. Are people prepared to just take it up one way or the other and see where we are? Sure. Okay, let's leave that one. Let's just go through a couple of these House bills that are, I think you're right, low hanging fruit, and then we'll leave that bill for last. Okay, let's go to Stacy. Let's start with Delegate Wells, House Bill 153.
This is definitely low hanging fruit here. So House Bill 153, Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners, student members, and task force to study compensation in student members. The bill expands the voting rights of the student member of the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners and alters the selection process for the student member by requiring that student member be elected by the middle and high school students of Baltimore City Public Schools in accordance with procedures established by the board in collaboration with the Associated Student Congress of of Baltimore City. Finally, the bill establishes a task force to study board member compensation and additional student membership. Takes effect in July 1, 2023, with the provisions relating to the task force terminating on June 30th, 2024. This is slightly different than the bill passed by the Senate. If you recall, and you look on page 2 of your packet, this is the Senate amendment, and it strikes middle school students. So the only ones voting for the student member would be high school students. The question before you is, do you wish this to conform to the Senate version?
Okay, Sarah Washington.
The Senate delegation would like to conform it to the Senate version.
Okay, that's a motion to conform to the Senate. Is there a second from Sarah Augustine? Okay, any discussion on that? All in favor of doing that conforming amendment? Raise your hand. All opposed? That amendment carries. So we've got 153 as amended for us. Any discussion? We have a motion favorable. Second from Sarah Augustine. All in favor? Raise your hand. Okay, that bill carries unanimously. HB 161, the Corman-Shalega tandem bill. I think it was Delegate Gallion. Senator Gallion, you had a question about Harford County?
Yes, I got a little clarification and actually one of the Harford County delegates brought the same thing up and I checked it out. It seems like it'll be okay. So I'm fine with moving on with it. Be supporting it.
No amendments, any motion favorable on this one? Okay. Senator Augustine, a second. Senator Rosa, all in favor of House Bill 161, raise your hand. All opposed, that carries. House Bill 466, Worcester County Natural Resources Hunting. I'm going to go to you, April.
Okay. So House Bill 466, this bill authorizes the Department of Natural Resources to allow a person in Worcester County to hunt on each Sunday of the game, bird, and mammal season on private property and public land designated for Sunday hunting by the department. Except as specified, the department may only allow such hunting from 30 minutes before sunrise until 10:30 a.m. These restrictions do not apply to certain Sunday hunting authorizations that already existed in law. The bill also decreases the archery hunting safety zone in Worcester County from 150 yards to 50 yards from a dwelling house, residence, church, or any other building or camp occupied by human beings. We did hear the cross file of this bill, Senate Bill 824, earlier in session. The difference is, as the House bill came over, it does include that time limitation that I just described.
Okay, just to clarify, we had this 10:30, you remember all the talk about 10:30 a.m. I guess we had two counties that were not part of this 10:30 a.m. quote compromise. So as I understand it, Senator Carosa, this and then the Comico County delegation brings the same 10:30 a.m. Senator Pinsky compromise from a year, then you all, these counties would be in now under the purview of that same 10:30 a.m. rule that
Session, we passed a Sunday hunting bill, local Sunday hunting bill for Somerset County, and the restriction was to 10:30. These two counties now there were not bills for them last session.
right.
So these counties came forward requesting Sunday hunting. As Ms. Morton noted, it was originally introduced for full days, but the House has moved the cross file with the 10:30, and our delegation is fine with moving forward with Worcester and Wycomico at the 10:30.
Okay,
So it would be in conformance with what we did last session.
for other jurisdictions. So I don't think we're not breaking any new ground here, as I understand it. But that said, any questions about, and this would be true of House Bill 10872. They're both doing that, and April can certainly answer some questions. Any discussion? Okay, is it Senator Carosa? Yes, Senator Gallion.
House bill.
Okay, we have a motion on House Bill. Which number are we on?
466.
466. Yeah, Senator Simonaire.
We conform the Senate bill and move both of them.
We could do that. Can we do that?
Is it in our control?
Do we have the Senate bill? Okay. Okay, what Senator Simonaire is suggesting is we do the same with the Senate bill that's in our possession. We just send them both back under this 10:30 Okay, we had a motion, we had a second from Senator Kagan. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of doing that, raise your hand. Okay, so we're taking the Senate bill that's in our possession and putting in the same posture as this House bill that isn't.
Let's vote them separately.
Okay. Yeah. Correct. So we clear, kind of on, sort of clear?
Currently, the motion is a favorable on House Bill 466.
Okay, so let's just take 466 right now. All in favor? Yeah, let's do a roll call because this topic, so we've got a favorable motion in a second, and let's do a roll call on this one. Memoria?
All right, Senator Kagan.
Aye.
Senator Kagan. Give me 1 second. Senator Augustine, no. Senator Gallion.
Yes.
Senator Gallion, yes. Senator Watson. Senator Watson, yes. Senator Lewis Young. Senator Lewis Young, no. Senator Brooks.
Yes.
Senator Brooks, yes. Senator Carozza.
Yes.
Senator Carozza, yes. Senator Hester. Senator Hester, yes. Senator Washington.
No.
Senator Washington, no. Senator Simoneer. Senator Simoneer, yes. Senator Feldman.
Yes, so that carries
8-3.
8-3. That's a straight up. Now on the Senate bill, it would be as amended to conform to the House bill that we just passed. Similarly, let's just do a discussion. Let's do all in favor of the conforming amendment. And again, we may have some dissenting votes. That's fine. Or on the straight up bill. Okay, any event, we're just talking about the amendments that would conform the Senate bill cross file to what we just did to House Bill 466. So all in favor of doing that, raise your hand. Okay, all opposed, that carries unanimously. Now we have the bill as that bill, Senate bill as amended. We'll do a roll call on that one. Memoria? I don't have the Senate bill number, but
Senate Bill 824.
okay, Senate Bill 824.
Yeah, it's on your sheet.
Okay, yeah, Senate Bill 824.
Senator Kagan.
Aye.
Senator Kagan, yes. Senator Augustine. Senator Augustine, no. Senator Gallion. Senator Gallion, yes. Senator Watson. Senator Watson, yes. Senator Lewis Young. Senator Lewis Young, no. Senator Brooks.
Yes.
Senator Brooks, yes. Senator Carozza.
Yes.
Senator Carozza, yes. Senator Hester. Senator Hester, yes. Senator Washington. Senator Washington, no. Senator Simoneer. Senator Simoneer, yes. Senator Feldman.
Okay, yes,
Senator
that bill
Feldman, yes.
that carries 8-3. Okay, I think we have the same deal with HB 1087. It's essentially the same deal. Let's just deal with the House bill. Let's forget about the Senate bill for right now, unless you need to. So House, this does the same, it's the same amendment basically for,
Right, so
Wicomico.
for Wicomico County, expands it to 30 minutes before sunrise until 10:30 a.m., not including the Sunday hunting authorizations that already exist for the county, and also reduces the safety zone from 150 yards to 50 yards for the archery hunting.
okay, so there's a favorable motion on this particular local bill 1087. Discussion.
50 yards?
Well, it's the same. It's the same thing that we did last year. I mean, you voted for, or somebody voted last year to do all this for all these other counties. Okay, okay, well,
And I have the delegation letter too.
okay. Okay, let's do a roll call on this particular bill, House Bill 1087. Straight
Okay.
up to do the same thing we just did with the other county.
All right, Senator Kagan.
Aye.
Senator Kagan, yes. Senator Augustine. Senator Augustine, no. Senator Gallion.
Yes.
Senator Gallion, yes. Senator Watson.
Yes.
Senator Watson, yes. Senator Lewis Young. Senator Lewis Young, no. Senator Brooks.
Yes.
Senator Brooks, yes. Senator Carozza.
Yes.
Senator Carozza, yes. Senator Hester. Senator Hester, yes. Senator Washington.
Yeah.
Senator Washington, no. Senator Simoneer. Senator Simoneer, yes. And Senator Feldman.
Yes, that bill
Probably
carries
yes.
8-3. Before we get to community solar, one final bill, we had the rather emotional bill. Oh, sure.
Want to vote Senate Bill 796 amended to conform. So that would be the cross file.
Okay, let's just do it. Let's just finish it up. Senate Bill 796.
You
Let's just,
did it with the other.
we
bill,
did it
I
with the
didn't
other
know.
one. So, okay, we need an amendment that would conform. And does everybody understand what we're doing here? Okay, all in favor of that amendment to the Senate, the cross file, Senate Bill 796, raise your hand. All opposed? That carries unanimously. We now have the bill as amended, 796. How about this one? We just raise your hand. I have a feeling I know what the outcome's gonna be. All in favor of 796 as amended, raise your hand. Okay, I count 8. All opposed? We've got 3. And that bill carries 8-3, which takes us down to 970. You know, Senator Smith submitted some, proffered some amendments to that sprinkler bill that we had that emotional testimony on. April, why don't you explain those amendments? We'll take that up and then we'll go to the community solar bill next.
Sure. So Senate Bill 970, this bill, as introduced, established various requirements related to the installation of automatic smoke alarms and fire extinguishers in high-rise buildings, and modifies existing provisions related to notification appliances for deaf or hard of hearing individuals. Bill also codifies requirements related to the installation of automatic sprinkler systems in high-rise buildings. There are amendments that have been offered by Senator Smith. Those amendments are in your voting packet. The amendments are on page 49. The reprint starts on page 50. The amendments strike provisions related to automatic smoke alarms, notification appliances, fire extinguishers, and signage, leaving only the requirements related to the installation of automatic sprinkler systems. So under the amended bill, and again, this is codifying a requirement that is already in state fire marshal regulations, but it would say that beginning January 1st, 2033, each high-rise building, regardless of date of construction, shall be protected by a complete automatic sprinkler system installed in accordance with the accepted engineering practices as approved by the authority with jurisdiction. But that requirement does not apply to high-rise buildings in which all units have exterior exit access as provided in a specified safety code. Then the bill also requires the Department of Housing and Community Development and in coordination with the state fire marshal and the Maryland Department of Emergency Management to identify funding sources that may be available to the owner of high-rise buildings to aid the owner in meeting the requirements of the bill. Sorry, and one more provision that remains in the bill is requiring pending the installation of sprinklers that in a high-rise building that is not protected shall include in any lease agreement conspicuous notice indicating that the building is not currently protected by a complete automatic sprinkler system.
Okay, let's open it up for some questions. And if there's, too many, we can push this to the next voting session. Yes, Senator Watson.
Definition of high rise, a building over 7 feet in height.
Actually, I don't know the answer to that. I will say that one of the recommendations, or at least suggestions from the fiscal note, was to specify that this applies only to residential high-rise buildings, which is what the regulations do. But I'd have to look at, I'm not sure what the definition is.
I mean, the bill looks like it exempts buildings less than 75 feet height, but I didn't see a definition of what a high rise is.
Okay. Okay, any other questions? Maybe on this one, why don't we just throw out some quick questions, then when we vote next time, we'll take this up.
I don't know.
Yeah. Any other questions just about the bill? Well, or not, we could vote it if people would like to vote it. We can look for a floor amendment in terms of a definition. You're saying that the regs actually do define what high rise is, or?
I don't know. I mean, I will say, just looking at the current law, it just says each high-rise building, but I don't know if there's a definition somewhere. It's a good question. I hadn't looked at it before.
Okay, the question is, do we need to resolve that or vote it, or?
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
So, it's in the fiscal note says that a high-rise building means a building for human occupancy that is 4 or more stories above grade level or over 45 feet in height. High-rise building does not include a structure or building used exclusively for open air parking or a building used exclusively for agricultural purposes.
Okay. Any additional questions on that particular issue, or
Yeah.
we need some more? Sure.
I'm looking at page 53. So that's how you define a high rise, but these things are not applicable for buildings less than 75 feet. Let me just skim through it real quick. 53. Line 18. It just seems like a discrepancy. If you have a standard definition for high rise, but this doesn't apply to buildings less than 75 feet.
Well, if, and then there's a whole bunch of kind of qualifications to that. The local fire department has at least one approved first line piece of aerial equipment that is capable of reaching the roof of the building. And accessibility to the building is provided on two sides of the perimeter. Again, I think a lot of this is, and I would have to go back and double check, but because that's part of the current law, and the current law, the current statute right now just says that each high-rise building constructed after July 1st has to be protected by a complete automatic sprinkler system. What this bill as amended is doing is it's adding in this retrofit requirement, which is currently in regulation, but not in statute, that just says that beginning January 1st, 2033, each building, regardless of date of construction, is going to have one of those sprinkler systems. That language that you're pointing out to, about the buildings under 75 feet, again, that applies to current law, so the construction requirements. I'm thinking that basically what that's about is saying that if you've got the whole idea of the sprinkler system requirement is that in these buildings that are so tall that, you know, that would be difficult for the firefighters to come and put out a fire, that it, you know, that it has a internal sprinkler system. I don't know if Senator Gallion knows more about this than I do, but I think it's to keep it consistent with the requirements for in general.
Okay, before we do anything, I want to make sure, are there any other questions? Do we want to take it up right now, or do you want to, what's the will of the, give me some body language. Okay, well, if somebody makes a motion, then it's in play. Okay, Sarah Augustine moved favorable. Let's move the amendments. We've got a favorable second from Senator Washington. Any discussion on the amendments? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of these Smith amendments, raise your hand. All opposed, amendments carry unanimously. Got a motion favorable, a second from, where's my second? Senator Simon Ayer. We've got the bill, Senate Bill 970 as amended before us. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. 970 is amended. All opposed. Bill carries unanimously. Okay, let's go back. Let's go to community solar now. Where'd we leave it? Where's Alexis? There you are. Alexis. Okay, folks, we had a lot of questions yesterday. I don't know. Does everybody feel like they have the information they need to take this bill up? And if you don't, then explain why, because I think you mentioned it was, you know, my intention to air it all out a little bit yesterday and then come back here and just, you know, vote it up, down, or whatever, but we need to take some action at this point. So, yeah, we're on, again, we've got the House bill, which is 908, and then the cross bills, Senate Bill 613, which is Senator Brooks. And then we did have the two amendments. We never took up the amendments. We had the standalone amendments from Senator Augustine and Brooks, and then the packet as well.
I would make one comment on
Sure.
those. The standalone amendment to Senator Augustine's is in fact an actual standalone amendment now. Didn't make it into your packet. So if you want to confirm the ID on that one, that's SB 613/443324/1. So that's the one we'll be coming off of, which is applicable to that bill credit. If you don't have it, I can pass around other copies.
Remember the
Yeah, that's one of the
conversation
ones,
yesterday
yes.
with Charlie and Sarah Augustine about, you know, modifying what was in front of us yesterday from Sarah Augustine to this 90. Yeah, so everybody should have that on your desk. And then Senator Brooks, is that incorporated into the packet?
That's in that, yep, that's in the packet.
Okay, so the only standalone amendment is Senator Augustine's. So there's two separate votes we would have to take on this. Who does not have Senator Augustine's amendment? Raise your hand. Everybody's got it?
And Senator Brooks's other amendment is on page 47. of this new packet.
Okay, so the new packet incorporates Senator Brooks's amendment. So yes, Sarah. Okay, Sarah Watson, you had a question? Sure.
Looking at the Maryland League of Conservation Voters, their summary of the amendment. And my only question is. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, hear you. Yeah.
I'm sorry. My only question is related to a summary provided by the Maryland League of Conservation Voters. And hopefully everybody sees this, but on number 8, it talks about LMI requirements. My question is, why are these two churches called out as not having to comply with the reserve of 40%?
So that's that nonprofit exemption. I
Yeah.
think that's a policy question, but nonprofits are excluded if the nonprofit runs the community solar.
But why
system.
would we want to, as a policy, exclude it when the whole intent is to make sure we can provide savings to low to moderate income folks? And they have the capability to provide it. Why would they be excluded?
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that. Does anybody have an answer as to why that language made its way in there? It's a fair question. Kristen from the League of Conservation Voters, since you're here and he's citing to something from you guys.
Yes, good afternoon. Kristen Harbison, Political Director of Maryland League of Conservation Voters. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. Those two churches were mentioned only insofar as those are congregations that wholly own their solar projects for the benefit of the congregation. The bill as originally drafted had said projects wholly owned by the subscribers would be exempted from this language, from that 40% language. It was based on concerns raised by the utilities. We said, well, why don't we can restrict it only to nonprofits. Specifically thinking about these congregations, there's one I think is Mount Zion Church in Bowie is looking to do the same thing to again create where the congregation would wholly own the project for the benefit of their congregation. That is the reason that exemption was in there. It was something that we talked about in the House, but I believe
it's community solar for a small subset of the population. Senator Brooks, an entity that has community solar, do they pay taxes on revenue generated at all? If I had community solar, do I pay taxes?
Yes, you are, but if you're an exempt organization, then you're exempt.
Senator Brooks,
Oh, I'm sorry.
put your mic a little closer.
Okay, yeah. If you are a business, of course, it's taxable income, but if you're an exempt organization, then it's not.
Okay, thank you for that. I have an ongoing problem with, churches being some of the biggest landowners, especially in my district. And they are afforded so much flexibility to raise all kinds of income untaxed. And now they're able to generate something of benefit to the entire community and restrict it to a small subset. I know there's nothing I can do it. I know tax exempt organization is a federal thing above our pay grade, but I just have problems with that. They're making all kinds of money. And I think we should be seeing some benefit. Thank you very much.
Okay, Sarah Augustine, then Sarah Washington.
I mean, I'm not saying that, but what I am saying it to a certain degree, but my thing is, I understand what you're saying, Kristen, what she said, but would they have not fit within the way it was before, which is subscribers to the solar, if they wholly owned by the subscribers of the solar energy system? I don't understand why we are creating this carve out for all nonprofit organizations instead of still keeping it as if it's like a wholly owned entity, then they could still have community solar. I can better understand that than why we would just create this carve out for a nonprofit. I just don't understand that. I don't understand why we would do that. And wouldn't the church, if they were, like, they would be able to fit within that? And so yeah, I mean, I would definitely ask to move it back to the original language, the subscribers to the solar energy system, instead of this nonprofit thing.
Okay, Sarah
I'm
Washington.
sorry, I am on page 20. Yep, I'm on page 20. House Bill 908, lines 5 and 6. This is where it talks about the exemption from the LMI requirement. And it's giving it to the nonprofits here. And so what I would say is, and you see where it struck through where it was for it originally came in the subscribers to the solar energy system, which would in essence say, you know, if you do have this, you know, you set it up and it's within your entity, okay, but I find that to be okay, but just because it's a nonprofit, then it could just be anything. It could just be anything, anyone who says that they're a nonprofit, they're going to be able to avoid the LMI requirement.
Okay, just to be clear, you're suggesting or recommending potentially, you know, just moving it back to the language
That is
as it
correct.
was. Okay, so,
Yeah.
Sarah Washington.
I agree as well, and I have strong concerns in general, as was expressed by Watson, but also specifically in this context. I
Okay.
like it the way it is.
Okay, any
Go back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any further discussion just about this very specific lines that we're talking about?
I may need a point of clarity.
Sure.
Instead of it being the narrow sense of a nonprofit organization being exempted, doing the broader exemption if it's wholly owned by the subscribers. Okay.
Just
Right.
for the wholly owned, if a group of folks come together to create this community solar, then okay. If it's just them versus the nonprofit, which is, it's just the original language. So my motion would be to strike a nonprofit organization and put back the subscribers to the solar energy system.
Everybody understand that? Any discussion on that before we take we'll take a vote? Okay, all in favor of Sarah Augustine's proposed adjustment? Right there, we're again specifically looking at page 20 and we're looking at lines 5 and 6. And Sarah Augustine is proposing that we go back to the original language that was in here that puts back the stricken language and gets rid of that nonprofit organization. Okay. So are you making a motion? Okay, and we had a second from Sarah Watson. Okay, all in favor of that or verbal amendment, raise your hand. All opposed, that amendment does carry. Any further discussion? Let's go now to the packet. Now, the packet does include Senator Brooks's amendment from yesterday. So look through that amendment package, and then we'll take up the Augustine amendment separately.
And that's on page 47. 47.
Okay, so we're page 47, your packet.
And this is the one that we covered yesterday that clarifies procedures for billing if the payment scheme that's used is purchase of receivables. So it clarifies the order of payment under that scheme for retail supply and the electric company.
Okay, any discussion of the Brooks Amendment, specifically on page 47, the Brooks Amendment? Yeah. Yes, Senator Augustine.
Okay, so we I want to get the conversation out there because we thank you, so we could take some more time to bring this one back. So I did get some feedback from some folks. I just want us to address it where, like Potomac Edison suggested, that they would not be able, or they wouldn't be able to really do it because they couldn't separate where the arrearages came from, supply versus distribution, and that that was like a bit of an issue. And if we could just get that conversation, and I think the PSC as well had some thoughts on it,
Okay,
too.
well, again,
And they're
this is-
here now.
Sure,
so-
this is important stuff, so we really want to make sure we've got some clarity. Whoever wants to win, and Charlie, you can come up too as well. Again, we don't want this to evolve into another mini bill hearing here. Because, but
This is a good question, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator, for bringing it up. What, this amendment's been brought forward by NRG. The question before the committee is, shall it, with this amendment, put into statute the current practice of payment posting in the event the subscriber organization does not go with net crediting, but rather with the purchase of receivables regime. So it just puts into practice what is currently done. So everyone is made whole by a purchase of receivables regime. The receivables purchased by the utility. Question then is an accounting after the fact, and it actually is used to calculate the discount rate for a following year. So the subscriber organization is made whole. The supplier is made whole. That supplier could be the utility themselves for the retail supply, and then finally the utility. But the way we post now is that the utility is always made whole first, then the supply, and then any other third party billing. In this case, community solar is a subscription, it's a third party charge. So we are keeping in practice and putting into statute the current practice of making sure that the two major components ensure that your lights come on when the switch is flipped. The delivery, the wires, and then the supply, the commodity, are taken care of first. And so that's what this does.
Okay, Mr. Chair, can we hear from the PSC on that?
yeah, absolutely. Who's gonna tell us who you are again?
Yes, thank you, Chair and Senators. My name is Brett Sproul, advisor for the Public Service Commission. On this particular topic, as it was stated, there are differences between the purchase of receivables mechanism and the New York crediting model. However, with the purchase of receivables mechanism, the way that billing would work under the utility consolidated model is that, say, for instance, if there's a subscription charge on the bill, if that subscription charge is not paid by the customer, that unpaid charge will move into an arrears balance or arrearages. And then for the future months, this arrearage balance, it will be a $10, $5, whatever the subscription charge balance is, moving forward month to month, regardless of where it came from. And that balance of arrears, the utility can pursue collective action or potential disconnection, which is the main concern as far as the Public Service Commission is aware with this.
However,
Absolutely, Senator. For instance, if there is a subscription charge from the subscriber organization on a customer's bill, and that customer chooses not to pay that subscription charge, say it's $5, that in a consolidated billing mechanism as it stands with a purchase of receivables. If that subscription charge is unpaid, that unpaid amount will move into an arrearage balance, which is the same if you don't pay your distribution, supply charge, what have you. That arrearage balance, regardless of where the money came from, that arrearage balance, the utilities can seek collective actions and potential disconnection if you don't pay off that arrearage balance, moving forward month to month.
What is the problem with the amendment then?
That is the main issue with the amendment, is that the utilities would have to implement certain billing mechanisms to effectuate, and we know of one utility in particular that would have to implement a billing system change to ensure that distribution and supply charges are superseded before the subscription charge.
I don't think so. Okay, but how's this handled in other, this isn't like a unique Okay, anybody else want to weigh in? I just want everybody, okay, Charlie, you want to weigh in on this one?
Yeah, I'll just to clarify, I think under purchase of receivables, that payment's already is going to happen with the subscriber organization, the retail supplier, whoever it is, that entity's made whole. The collection process, really kind of what the focus was, I believe, with the NRG amendment was on the discount rate calculation that occurs at the end of the year. Not the sort of disconnection concern. And I think that the disconnection concern that was originally kind of talked about a little bit earlier on in this legislative process, we believe was addressed because the subscription charge can never exceed the credit value. So there's never actually an additional kind of cost or payment that's happening. But
Okay. Anything final? And then we're just gonna have to, at some point, we're just gonna have to take up this amendment and the Augustine amendment and move forward here. Okay, any final word on this one?
And I will address, once again, we have not officially confirmed with all of the utilities. This is just coming from one of the utilities on this process.
Okay, because I don't see them here. I would note that it's just an observation. If it were a big issue, I think the room would be packed with some folks, and yesterday or today. So I'm not sure it rises to that kind of level, but that's just
clarification.
Sure.
This is in the very unlikely event they don't pursue the net crediting, the New York approach. So it's just preserving what is current practice today.
The net crediting is a superior model. It would be unlikely that someone would take a purchase of receivables approach in the likely event that were to happen. It is in this lobbyist's opinion, in the best interest to make sure that supply and delivery costs are taken care of first as lined up in the amendment.
Yes, okay. We've got in front of us the Brooks Amendment on page 47. Is there? Yes, Senator Washington.
Okay, for this senator, it would be interested in the ratepayers. I'm not inclined to accept this amendment because there's too many sort of ifs. If the commission implements a form of consolidated billing that includes, colleagues, I feel as though getting the original question is what happens if if there's going to be a cap, if it's 1% or 3%. I think the PSC is if they are in fact, sort of concerned with ratepayers, which is why I think they're expressing the concern that there is in the pros and cons of combined or dual billing, the issue around shutoff. And so I do think that is an issue, but I think prophylactically putting in this amendment to guarantee that essentially what this is, if you take out various liens, if you're a contractor, if you're et cetera, in your house, so the first lien is the mortgage company. However, in some jurisdictions, like the jurisdiction that I live in, if there are bills that are unpaid to the city, then that lien can supersede even some prior lenders. So what this is establishing this entity as superseding other entities. And I'm not comfortable with us making that type of decision when we're trying to create a larger regime. But that is what this bill is asking. We get paid first, and then let others, and the ultimate thing we'd be authorizing them to do is to take action, which could be shut off or could be some other type of lien.
Okay, any further discussion about this? Okay, yes, Senator Augustine.
So I am in agreement with Senator Washington. Senator Brooks, you're the one who brought it forward. I mean, I would, the rest of the bill, I mean, this is like additive. It's just really not too much to the bill. I mean, we could not do this,
If I'm hearing you right, so you're primarily concerned with the priority, and that's what this particular amendment does. That's the priority who's going to be getting compensated first. From what I see, this is would be probably not much different from what consolidated billing is right now with third party retailers. You know, there's gonna be a priority who gets compensated first, and what John was saying, the lines first and then the delivery, So, but we're assuming that everybody's not going to honor their obligation, and that might as well be true. But if you've got something better that you want to offer, I'd be willing to listen to it.
Well, I'm not suggesting that.
Okay.
Here's what I am suggesting though, Senator Brooks.
Okay.
What I am saying is this. I think that there was already a suggestion from the folks around this, that this would only happen in very rare circumstances, is what they said. It has obviously created some real unreadiness amongst some of us here on the committee. I don't think that it actually needs to even really be incorporated into the bill, and it doesn't hurt the bill. I mean, I don't see where not doing this particular amendment would, if we just didn't take it up, I think it would, your bill would be just fine. I guess is what I'm trying to suggest.
I think what he's suggesting, that we're getting sidetracked. I mean, this is a significant policy call, community solar. I'm spending a lot of time on
This little narrow.
on a scenario whereby, unlike, I mean, even I think Friaster is saying sort of an unlikely set of scenarios. So it's a lot of time to be spending.
It's
seems to
unlikely,
be.
with all due respect, Mr. Chairman, it's unlikely. However, this would take months, if not years, to figure out at the commission. By adopting it, it presents the General Assembly's will and intent, and it would clear up any clarification. NRG worked very hard with CCSA to make sure that this language was amenable. It took about a week of hard work between Mr. Coggenshaw and my client. We appreciate that time and effort. I think we've got it into a good place. And like I said, it puts into the statute the way charges are allocated today. It just clarifies it and make sure that there is no confusion, because all of this will be worked out in a group at the Public Service Commission. And the more instruction that this General Assembly provides that group, the faster the process can go and the more quickly we can roll out the program.
Okay, you got your light on again, Senator Brooks? Okay. Okay, well, I'm looking for a motion one way or the other on this one, on the Brooks amendment, and it could go either way, but we need to take, yeah. Yes, I think we just need to vote. Okay, one way there. Okay, it's an unfavorable. Lemuria, this is on the Brooks amendment on page 47.
Oh, okay. All right, Senator Kagan. Senator Kagan, no. Senator Augustine? Yes. Senator Augustine, yes. Senator Gallion? Senator Gallion abstaining. Senator Watson? Yes. Senator Watson, yes. Senator Lewis Young?
Yes.
Senator Lewis Young, yes. Senator Brooks? No. Senator Brooks, no. Senator Carozza? No. Senator Carozza, no. Senator Hester? Senator Hester abstains. Senator Washington?
Yes, and they're asking us to put our thumb on the scale before they go before the PSC. That's what this bill is doing. So that's why I'm voting against it. I mean, this amendment, sorry.
Senator Washington, yes. Senator Simonaire? Senator Simonaire abstain, and Senator Feldman?
What's the vote right now? Just curious.
We have 4 yeses and 3 noes and 3 abstentions.
Okay,
There's no, yeah.
well, yeah, that what happens if
We
it,
don't
yeah,
want
so,
this.
okay, I'm gonna go, I'll go no on the, well, wait, it's an unfavorable.
Right.
Okay, I'll go yes on the unfavorable.
All right. So it's 5-3-3.
Okay. Let's go to the Augustine amendment next.
Remember that these
I really was hoping we were gonna be quick this afternoon and get a break, but no, that's okay. This is important. These are important bills. Yeah.
I will explain, we actually, I don't feel like I need to explain the amendment. We heard it. The language is now put into the format that Mr. Garagiola put it into. I'm
It's a
good
little
with.
different. I will say it is a
Well,
little
okay,
different.
well, share.
So it's just a different section.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
a
that's
different
fine, but
placement,
it's
yeah.
what we discussed.
Mhm.
And I would move the amendment as it's been presented on your desk.
Okay, any discussion on the Augustine amendment, which is the next page after the Brooks amendment?
Well, it's separate.
Yes,
It's a
separate,
separate sheet.
separate, right, separate, yeah. Okay, any discussion? Okay, are you gonna move favorable on your amendment
Yeah,
there?
move favorable,
Second,
yeah,
from
sorry.
Senator Washington, in discussion on the Augustine amendment. Yes, Senator Carrizo?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way it's set up, there is you get a bill credit. The way that community solar is set up, there is a bill credit that the folks do. It's a part of your contract that you have. It's a bill credit. And if you see on the sheet, there is a sheet in here which gives like the summary, and they talk about where the bill credit is anywhere between 10 and 20%. You saw that on the sheet, right? And so my concern, Senator Carrizo, we've been hearing before where you get like folks come in, they say one thing, they say, yeah, it's 10 to 20%. And then we don't put any parameters on, we don't put any guardrails on. Next thing you know, they're not giving 10%. Like next thing you know, they're giving nothing, right? It's like it ends up being zero, whatever. And so all that I'm saying is, and I've experienced that in this space. I've experienced this in this space where we hear one thing, but then we end up with another. So all I'm saying is, if you're saying that's what it's going to be, let's just make sure that they get at least that 10% credit. That's all that it's doing. Okay.
Okay, we got a motion. We had a second from Senator Washington on the Augustine amendment. All in favor of the Augustine amendment, raise your hand. Okay, all opposed, that amendment carries. Is there any other, is that it? Is there any other, those are the other only amendments? Do we have any other amendments?
Yep, those are the only amendments on the Senate bill. Then, of course, we would have the House. So we have the conforming amendment, actually, the conforming amendment from Senator Brooks on that one. I'm not sure if we actually took a motion on that one. But did we?
To conform to the
House.
to the
bill,
House product, right?
With the
Okay, so we
exception
have,
of the
right,
The
nonprofit
Yeah.
change. Yep.
right.
okay, so with that, it's conforming to the House product with the exception of that one change we made verbally earlier. Any discussion about that, all that? Okay, seeing none. All in favor of that conforming amendment, raise your hand. All opposed? That amendment carries, I believe, unanimously. Was there any dissent? Okay, okay, I don't want to go out on a limb here. Okay, so that amendment, yes. Sure,
Late here, but I just
Sure.
have a question on the Augustine amendment, just a practical question. And so I support the intent of this amendment, but what happens like if there isn't that much savings? Like what if the project doesn't pencil out? That was my question.
Then it doesn't actually happen. These are about contract. They can speak to it. It's a contract that you have to sign. So
Okay.
the contract, all this is saying is that, when they do the contracts, which they already do it as a contract, as they shared with us, that contract is going to be for at least that 10% credit, which that's already their practice. Their practice for their contracts is anywhere from they can obviously speak for it, 10 to 20. If you look on the sheet, that's what they show. And it's just saying, don't come in here with a contract that's, 1%. It just do what you say, which is the 10% bill credit.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
okay, so now we have the bill, and we're just working off we're on the Senate bill at this point. Alexa, let's just be clear. We now
Right,
have
so-
the Senate bill and we can,
Yeah, we're on the Senate bill adopted,
correct,
this full conforming amendment. Senator Augustine's amendment and that one caveat to the
non-
conforming House amendment.
correct. So that's all in front of us right now. Yes, Senator Carosa.
This is more just a general question, so I don't know if you want to
Sure.
do the amendments or should I ask my
We already
question?
did the amendments.
Okay.
Yeah, well, no, we haven't moved that yet, but we could.
Well, we haven't, nobody's made a motion on the bill as amended yet, but that, the amendments
It's
we
coming.
did. Yes, Senator Gallion.
Okay, so it's been mentioned, a lot of us are learning a lot of new stuff here and we're still getting in here. So I just had a few questions before we
Sure.
move the bill as a whole, and whoever could answer them, that'd be great. We did have some questions yesterday about the billing and how much that was going to cost. So my question is, will that be borne by non-subscribing customers through increases?
Well, I think we had a discussion about the credits and I mean, you all spoke to it yesterday. Do you want to just reiterate, I think what you said yesterday, just for Senator Gallion's benefits? No, not consolidated billing in terms of the
I don't know if
credits.
it's going to trickle down to other.
Just walk us
rate
through
payers.
again. You went through this a bit yesterday, but
Sorry, excuse me, Senator, are you referring to the consolidated billing cost?
Yes, will that end up trickling down where other people that aren't subscribed to community solar are going to have to pay more in their rates?
So the program is going to fall underneath the net metering kind of regime, which is something that the state has already accepted as, a program that is going to be paid for if need be. I think the gap is that in taking into account kind of what the value of the solar generation is versus what the avoided cost is, and if there's an impact associated with that, that I think is kind of a next phase for PSC to dig into. But as far as the net metering program, this bill is not going to create an incremental cost for ratepayers because it's already underneath the umbrella of the net metering regime, which is like 3 gigawatts total.
All right. Next question, as we talk about community solar, which kind of was new to me before we started the session as well. We talked about, agrivoltaics and different things and so having, these panels at different places. How far away could one of these generating spots be from where the person that's actually bought into this program going to be? So they have to be in like neighboring jurisdictions, or could it be somebody with panels in Western Maryland that is being used, these credits are being used by someone that lives on the eastern part of the state? So is it really community as in closeness, or it could be somebody could it be complete opposite ends of the state?
It just has to be in the same service territory. So if you're a Pepco customer, the project has to be located in Pepco, same with BGE, Potomac Edison, et cetera. The community aspect, it could be that it's a project that's within your community, or it could be miles away, but in the same service territory. And the community aspect of it is that it's a group of a community of people and businesses potentially that are all part of kind of the investment, the costs and benefits of the project.
Okay.
okay, any final questions before we have? Okay, so Senator Augustine has moved Senate Bill 613 as amended. Is there a second? Second from Senator Brooks, the sponsor. Senator Carosa, you have a question, and then Senator Simonary.
So now we can ask general questions
Yep,
on the bill. Okay.
absolutely, before we take a
So
vote.
just going back, I'm just taking a step back completely and just looking at even the title of this, Community Solar Energy Generating Systems Program and Property Taxes. So can somebody walk me through the property taxes part again?
So the property tax part was purely technical. Nothing is changing from a political perspective with that. There was some conflicting legislation passed within the prior legislative years that created this inconsistent scheme, 3 bills to be precise, that created an inconsistent scheme with how personal property tax exemptions related to these community solar systems were implemented. So this is to consolidate it, streamline it, and to make sure it's as accurate as possible, but nothing in terms of the policy is changing with those tax exemptions.
If I'm explaining this to someone who doesn't know anything about these programs, are we saying that there's now consistency with the property tax credit for if you have solar. I guess I'm just trying to put this in layman's terms.
We probably say we were correcting drafting errors that occurred related to language on tax exemptions for community solar projects.
Solar tax credits. How are those bottom line? If you had to
So there's a
summarize
particular
those.
exemption, Rob, maybe able to speak to it a little bit more.
Thank you.
So, Senator, there were actually three bills. One was in climate solutions, had tax credit scheme. There was a bill that Senator King had last year, and there was a bill that Senator Elfreth had last year, and there were corresponding House bills. And so it was the staff of the Ways and Means Committee that said, hey, here's a community solar bill moving. There were three bills that passed last year, but there were like inconsistencies a little bit. And he was basically the amendments clean it up. If you're asking like, what were those tax credits that were passed last year? So there were, I believe, three different things. There was a portion of the real property tax and the personal property tax. Ooh, man, I'm just trying to think about it because there were some add-ons to that. And then there was an agrivoltaics. And again, this was last year. Kristen, are you here? Do you remember the three? It was because I think the personal property tax there already existed previously, a 50% discount. And I think what this bill did is if you went and built on brownfields, basically non-ag areas, and I think there was an LMI component to that as well, then you could get 100% personal property tax exemption. And again, this is from last year's legislation. I believe the real property for similar types of things in non-ag, essentially, to try to incentivize rooftop, brownfield. I believe the real property tax is a 50%. That again was put in last year. And I think the agrivoltaics similarly, and there was one other component that basically said, if you do agrivoltaics, the farmland would not be designated commercial. It would maintain its designation as agricultural from a base rate perspective. And so all three of those bills hit all of those topics, but I think there was an inconsistency. Yeah. Yep. So I think that was the sense that it's existing law that got enacted last year 3 times.
The other things that are is that all three of those provisions expire at some point with the community solar pilot program. So it's really just cleaning up what will happen over the next 18 months, that the pilot program is still in effect before the hopefully permanent program goes into effect. So this was really just trying to make things clearer for the remaining portion of the pilot program.
Okay, Senator Sumner.
Yeah, thank you. So trying to get around this as well. Electric rates are challenging to many people in my district, and BG&E I know is requested higher rates in my area. And so if I could ask PSC, I see in the fiscal note, if they could kind of explain this, they said the PSC advises that the bill puts upward pressure on electric prices, which are paid by state government, local government, business, et cetera. If you could just explain, I mean, I like the community solar concept, but how will this bill, if any, impact ratepayers?
So the main impact on ratepayers really revolves around the money. It's already established in net metering for customers paying into the distribution system itself. And I believe Senator Augustine brought up some concerns about this yesterday, specifically regarding the net benefit language within this bill ensures that a customer is always going to be receiving a benefit when related to the subscription charge and the cost. So you'll be receiving a net benefit. However, in this bill language, there are some distribution bill impacts that exist already. In our 2022 net metering report that the Public Service Commission published to the General Assembly, the legislature. At full deployment, our estimated monthly distribution bill impacts, and full deployment being 582 megawatts in the pilot program. For BGE, the estimation for distribution bill impacts would be $1.50 a month. For Pepco, it would be $2.10 a month, and for Delmarva DPL, it would be $1.70 per month. These are our estimates based on the distribution bill credits that are currently in the pilot program. Granted that these are all numbers based on the full deployment, which once again is 582 megawatts. We're currently at, as of last year, 72 megawatts. So there's been a year of time. So I would estimate we're at 80 to 90 megawatts of the pilot program right now. But those are the bill impacts that we have estimated on full deployment of the pilot program.
And then also, Senator, I just wanted to add real quick, with this bill. I'm sorry. Thank you, Vice Chair. Lisa Smith, Director of Government Affairs for Maryland Public Service Commission. Thank you, Chair Feldman, Vice Chair Keegan, and Senators, thank you for bringing us up. And this year's bill would also have implementation costs. We don't know the exact costs of changing utility billing systems, and that's kind of why we were noting every time we add an amendment, we make it more complicated, we add mandates, there are those potential billing impacts, which could be in the tens of millions of dollars. I know that one utility alone testified that it would be about the estimated $20 million. Of course, we don't have exact numbers of what that could be. We did, it sound with supplier consolidated billing, we are looking at around 40 million. So there's, those costs as well will be spread out among ratepayers.
Sure, go on.
I don't know if I have the right terminology, but the existing pilot program net metering, when it gets to that 582, that's already built into the system and this bill is not changing that. Is that correct?
That is correct. That's already built into the system at the current rates. I believe the bill impact as of right now with 70 megawatts, as we estimated last year, is roughly 20 to 30 cents per month per bill.
And that'll go up to the $1.50, et cetera.
As you move
But
forward.
this bill isn't changing that. That's already baked in. So
Correct.
what you're saying, what I think I hear you're saying is that the additional cost to the ratepayers would be any alteration they have to do for billing and the millions of dollars for that. And that would be a one-time cost. Is that correct?
So those costs for program costs, billing system costs, IT costs that the utilities would have to enact, those costs would be put into rate base and then distributed amongst all of the ratepayers' distribution bills. So that would be a continuous cost over time in your distribution bill.
Okay, guys, I think,
Yes.
what's that? From the developers. Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. Okay, come on, and this will be your last word on this. I think it's time for us to take a vote one way or the other, up or down. Okay, Charlie, yeah, just on this last, just when you said developer, like who's bearing the cost of that?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that this was something we had discussed yesterday. This was what we removed the cap on the 1% associated with what the utility can recover that's tied to the administrative costs of consolidated billing. And so that is kind of the key cost that I think Baltimore Gas Electric was talking about. But that will be recovered from the subscriber organizations, from the developers in the program through this fee that will be on on them for participating in the program.
Okay, guys, we had a motion from Senator Augustine, a second from, who was it, Senator? Who was the second? Senator Brooks, the sponsor. Okay, guys, I think it's time to take a roll call on this one and move on. Okay, Maria.
All right, Senator Kagan.
Aye.
Senator Kagan, yes. Senator Augustine. Yes. Senator Augustine, yes. Senator Gallion.
No.
Senator Gallion, no. Senator Watson.
Yeah.
Senator Watson, yes. Senator Lewis Young.
Yes.
Senator Lewis Young, yes. Senator Brooks.
Yeah.
Senator Brooks, yes. Senator Carozza.
Abstain.
Senator Carozza abstains. Senator Hester.
Yes, and just to explain my vote, I asked a question yesterday about solar siting. And I think it's really, really important that we find a way to deal with comprehensive siting. And I did not offer an amendment today to overly complicate this bill, but I'd like to ask the committee to work with me on another vehicle to get something going on solar siting.
All right, Senator Hester was a yes. Senator Washington?
Yes.
Senator Washington, yes. Senator Salmonair?
I'm gonna abstain. There's a lot of information I want to hear the floor debate a little more.
Okay, Senator Feldman?
Yes, so that bill carries
Senator Feldman, yes.
8-1 to 2
8-1-2.
abstentions. Okay, folks, this took a lot longer today. I had hoped that we were going to break a lot earlier and have us. I think we're not going to be able to take up, but we do have 1 or 2 other significant bills in energy that we're going to have to find
You
some
did House
time
bill.
to work on. One's from Senator Augustine, another.
No, that's what I was gonna say.
Oh, yeah,
Done.
let's need to take.
Do the House bill with the
yeah,
conforming
okay.
amendments.
Right, okay, so we got to, right, okay, House bill conforming amendments, so the House and Senate bills are in the same posture. Any discussion? Is there a second from Senator Lewis Young? Okay, let's, these are the conforming amendments. Okay, let's go around the horn one more on this one. These are conforming amendments and this conforms the Senate and House bills together. Just on the amendments, we're just putting them. And then I guess we have to vote the House bill as well. So, okay, well, let's do a roll call on both these amendments and then the.
What's the
House.
bill? I'm sorry.
Yeah, the House bill is
HB
House bill,
Not still 9-0, okay.
yeah,
908.
nine.
All right.
908.
Senator Kagan? Senator Kagan, yes. Senator Augustine? Yes. Senator Augustine, yes. Senator Gallion? Senator Gallion, yes. Senator Watson? Senator Watson, yes. Senator Lewis Young?
Yes.
Senator Lewis Young, yes. Senator Brooks?
Yeah.
Senator Brooks, yes. Senator Carozza?
Yes.
Senator Carozza, yes. Senator Hester? Senator Hester, yes. Senator Washington? Senator Washington, yes. Senator Salmonair? Senator Salmonair, yes. Senator Feldman?
Yes, conforming amendments, yeah, unanimously, we got a motion on the bill as amended. Again, we're on 908 as amended. We have a second from Senator Lewis Young. We're gonna do a roll call and then we're gonna be done.
All right, Senator Kagan?
Aye.
Senator Kagan, yes. Senator Augustine? Yes. Senator Augustine, yes. Senator Gallion? Senator Gallion, no. Senator Watson? Senator Watson, yes. Senator Lewis Young? Senator Lewis Young, yes. Senator Brooks?
Yeah.
Senator Brooks, yes. Senator Carozza?
But I'm going to abstain again because my questions have not all been answered.
Senator Carozza abstains. Senator Hester? Senator Hester, yes. Senator Washington?
Yes.
Senator Washington, yes. Senator Salmonair? Senator Salmonair abstains. Senator Feldman?
Okay, yes, 8-1 to 2 abstentions, and that concludes our work for today. I'll see you in an hour or so, and then we'll take up